Good evening to those of you who are joining Charms MEDI-HELPZ in day 10 through Facebook. Please allow us a few moments so that we can get synced up with LinkedIn, and then we will go ahead and proceed with today's day 10 message. And for those of you that have young adults in your families, or someone that has a young adult in your family, this is definitely a conversation that you just do not want to miss. You want to make sure that you're aware. And since this is being done through LinkedIn Live, you have access to going into LinkedIn to view this. You'll have access to seeing this on Facebook Live, as well as you can go to my website. I would say today's February 10th. It's a Saturday, so I would say maybe about the 14th, the live in the stream, in the video should be live. But as always, as I've said with all the other rooms, and what I will continue to say is, if you see that you are interested in this and you want to get in touch with the presenters, please go ahead and send me an email or send them an email and say, hey, how do we get you to speak to us? How can we collaborate on this thing so that we can indeed collaborate? We're having just a little bit of technical issues, but we're getting through them as best we can, as we always do in the African American community. We get through things like we're supposed to get through them with the utmost concern and the utmost care of those who are involved. So I'm going to go ahead and start by actually introducing to you the two speakers. We got two today. We have two. They both came when I asked them. They was like, "Yes, Sandra, when?" Like we're here. Like we want people to know about our resources. And just like so many others before, speakers before said, in the 40s and 50s, our ancestors and our family members, they didn't have access to this. If something was hurting or bothering them, there was no way for them to share what was going on with them. And so they sat in silence, or they sat with their family members and went through it without really being known where the resources are and where the options are to help. So once again, I'm going to introduce Miss Shonda Spates. She is the founder, CEO of Flourish Individual and Community Empowerment, aka FICE Apps, and the nonprofit organization Flourish Foundation Project Incorporated. Following the trauma of her son's suicide, so see, her son, she has a personal experience from this, a personal patient experience from this. And when her son attempted to suicide, she could have at any point in time said, that's it. I got to put all my emphasis into my own child, into me and my child. That's not what she did. She took the step and said, you know what? If my baby is hurting, how many other children are out here that are hurting and not sure where to go, not sure where to go get that love from? How many others are going through the same thing? So with that being the case, she created a social impact mobile applications, not just one. She giving them some choices. You got a bunch of them that you can get into that she took and actually created. She actually, the social mobile applications is the DDAT-app, which is trademarked, suicide prevention and mental health, Pathways, which is also trademarked, prison reentry, and child support prevention and mental health, education and self-advocacy, support. These are all support service platforms. Chandra is a self-described mom on a mission. Once again, she didn't stop and say, oh my God, my son, my baby, it's just all about me and him. She went forth and created her own social media applications with an S. That means she did more than one. She is actually, those programs are focused on suicide prevention and empowering youth to create bright futures through STEM, art, and music career paths. Holding a master's in human resource management with a concentration in training and development, a bachelor's in psychology, a minor in social work, and over 12 years of experience in corporate training business. She is skilled in strategic planning, policy integration, and human performance improvement. She thrives on mentoring business owners and managers from small to mid-sized employers with proven success. So not only is she out here doing the corporate thing, she's not going home at night and going to sleep. She's making sure our children, our young adults have a place, a safe space. She collaborates and she's willing to collaborate with anyone that, and I might be putting words into her mouth. I'm hoping she's not upset, but she's willing to collaborate with anyone that's in that field, it's in that genre, that does any of the things that I just mentioned about Chandra and what she does, so that together we can make a difference. Her partner in crime, no, her partner, A. Maurice Harvey, is a licensed clinical social worker, primarily serving the greater Charlotte community. I'm sure if you're outside Charlotte and you're actually interested in collaborating and seeing what can be done in the neighborhoods you live in, that he will be more than happy to speak with you, to talk to you, to share insight and input to making sure that our children, get the correct care that they need. He is in 2008, he earned his Bachelor of Social Work degree from UNC Charlotte. In 2013, he graduated from Winthrop University with a Master of Social Work, an MSW degree with a focus on empowerment. Y'all, he ain't just some focus on empowerment across this African American community. He focused empowerment across systems. It's just that for this month, we're concentrating on the African American experience in health. And he began his journey through in human services through group homes in 2006, quickly transitioning to community mental health and transitional housing programs, and spent almost 2 years as a Mecklenburg County social worker within their community support service division, where he worked with recently housed, formerly chronically homeless individuals in a single occupancy residential setting, formerly known as Moore's Place. Maurice's most recent focus work has been with people who are transitioning through adult life situations, informally coined adulting, as well as engaging in couples work. Currently, he owns and operates Choose Better for You, PLLC, where he engages in outpatient therapy, speaking opportunities, and consulting work. In the fall of 2022, he founded Black Male Therapists of Charlotte. It was designated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization focused on developing networks for men of color who are currently licensed or seeking licensure with the intent of addressing social issues in underserved communities. Maurice has an affinity towards low-income individuals, families, and communities, especially people who are transiently housed. In his personal time, he enjoys writing. I don't know how he got personal time. I know y'all tired of hearing me talk, but where he getting his personal time from? He's written 2 self-published books. Writing 1 book is enough. He wrote 2, and he self-published those 2 books. And he's making memories with his wife of over a decade and their 3 children. Please tell me how this man is able to have some personal free time. I'm gonna let him tell us all in a few minutes. He's a lively teenage daughter and 2 amazingly talented early education sons. So I'm going to turn it over at this point in time, and I'm going to let them do what they need to do, which is educate us all on the importance of the work that they are doing. So Aunt Chandra and Maurice, I'm going to sit back. If you need me, I am here. I'm monitoring the comments that come through. If you are here, please let me know. Just say, hey, Sandra, do you have anything to add to the conversation, or call me back into the conversation? If you're listening via Facebook, please put your comments in the Facebook chat so I can see them. If you're listening and you're listening via LinkedIn, do the same thing. If you find that you're having an issue putting your notes or your comments in LinkedIn live and you're on your phone, please use your laptop or desktop to put your comments in, because I'm sure they're they're more than ready to hear what you have to say and more than ready to let us all know what it is with the important work that they're doing for the African American community. It's on you, Shonda and Avery.
All
Hey,
right.
Shonda,
Well,
you can
yeah.
go ahead by all means. I'm here. The one thing that I want to say before we even get started, I absolutely 100%. If there are comments or questions, that you want us to get to, don't be afraid. Jump right in. Put those in the chat lines and chat messages, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook. Make sure that you get your voice heard, because we are prepared to answer questions, but we're going to definitely give you an opportunity to get to know who we are a little bit more and what we're doing in the community, because we are making a great impact, and we want to make sure that you're getting something valuable more than just knowing who we are, but also what's available to you. So, but I'm here.
All righty. And then I'm just gonna do like just a brief little introduction and go ahead and let you have your time, Maurice. I know that you have a tighter time constraint than I do. But I am Shonda Spades, like the introduction said, and my son was going through a horrific bullying experience as he transitioned from middle school to high school, and ended up attempting suicide. And what I found out that is that this is a horrific problem that I think if you're not experiencing, you don't really know the magnitude of what's going on. And then also just looking at dealing with at that time a suicidal 17-year-old. This whole thing started because I went on Facebook Live, frustrated and not knowing what to do. Because while you can get time to take your child to an appointment, it is FMLA, it is unpaid. So I really had to decide between, you know, can I go to work? If I go to work, what do I do with the suicidal 17-year-old? Can I leave him at home? Insurance only covered a certain number of appointments and visits. You could only stay in a facility for so many days for observation. And it was a horrific, scary experience. So I was like, is anyone else going through this problem? Can we coordinate our work schedules? And it started as a babysitter of other parents going through the same thing. And we would coordinate our work schedules. You work night shift and we would babysit the children. And it evolved from there to what I did is corporate gap analysis and look at how do we solve different problems. Usually it's safety issues, high performance training. But I did a deep dive on teen suicide. What's driving it? What's affecting? Because my son didn't want counseling. I looked at it and found research. It's not uncommon. Children are notorious for missed appointments and things of that nature because they just don't want to go. They don't want to sit and talk to a therapist. Maurice can kind of talk about more detail challenges getting up. But what I did is I went through the research to figure out what I can do for my child, and then I said this is too important to not share. So I ended up making a mobile app to increase the access to care, to give kids more engagement to get care and therapy, but not in therapy. But let's look at how do we engage them because children, um, we can't give them adult. So when I did the research and pulled up all the studies, children ages 13 to 26, so it's actually children and young adults, spend 3 to 5 hours a day, 3 to 5 hours a day consuming and streaming video. What are we going to do about it? The magnitude of suicide not only comes into effect well because it's not an issue, but 2023 was the highest number of suicides on record. There were 1.7 million across the nation last year, highest ever in recorded history, and 51,000 actual people. I hate successful in committing suicide, but
Shonda, this is Sandra. You're going in and out, right? But what I want you to do is I want you to repeat that number, repeat those data statistical numbers, because we all need to know what those numbers are.
absolutely. So 2020 was the highest suicide ever with a staggering 1.7 million suicide attempts, and 51,000 people actually committed suicide in 2023. A good number of those are also our teens and young adults. And our program is looking at specific teens. How do we reach them, engage them, make a difference because they are hurting? Suicide as a solution, which we all know is not the solution. So what we do and what we do differently is engage children in music and mental resilience. So since we know that they spend 3 to 5 hours a day, can you imagine, you're probably in school for 6 hours, you're sleeping, and then you spend another 3 to 5 hours. Not much time left. So if we're going to reach kids and make it really through music and video and things of that nature, engage them where they already are. So what our program does, which is unique and different, is we teach prevention strategies, mental resilience strategies through music production and engineering, digital animation, coding, which we have trademarked as STEM Plus. So that's not education, put them on a career, but put them on a career path that lets them be focused on building a future, not building their demise. And it really in a way that they connect with naturally through music and things of that nature. We are a local program here in North Carolina, which is vitally important. Charlotte, North Carolina has the highest suicide rate among teenagers in the state of North Carolina. So we're not the largest or the most high in the nation. That goes to Wyoming, but it's definitely a problem here. But what's significant is that our program has the impact to reach the nation because our kids can have this after school program, this enrichment program where they learn these strategies and teach it back to their peers through a peer support channel. We can stream to the national impact, and that's here to promote. Available here in Charlotte. We would love to go across the nation, other cities, and we partner with other organizations where we can reach across the world because our kids, our nation's kids, need.
That is so very true. And I'm gonna actually ask Maurice if you would go ahead and speak on what Chandra just said, so that the three of us, as well as those people who are in the audience, whether they're listening live or whether they'll be listening afterwards, will actually be able to make a statement. They'll be able to make a point. They'll be able to see, yeah, this is not that they don't see it already, because then you have to, but they'll be able to know and to see that this has to be addressed with all children, but most importantly with the communities that we work the closest with, which are the brown and black communities. Those children, they need help. They're already living in under-resourced areas. They're already living in vulnerable areas. Many of them are dealing with some type of disability, whether it's mental or physical. They already are struggling. So we've got to continue to grow, and we've got to continue to collaborate. Once again, Shanta just said she's in Charlotte, a very, in North Carolina. It's not that big, right? But we got kids there that are looking and saying there's nobody to help them. And so they're thinking that they should take their lives. They don't have a mom or a dad like Shonda and Maurice. They just don't. They don't know that there's others that really, really do care about them and want them to succeed. They don't know that, right? So starting in Charlotte and bringing these programs across the country through collaboration efforts with other nonprofits, that what other nonprofits that work with children and teens and young adults. She's just said 13 to 26. Wow. You can rate age off your parents' insurance if your parents are working. You can rate age off of your parents' insurance, or parents. They're getting ready to age off of your insurance. Do you know what it means to age out? Do you know what it means to adult off of your parents' insurance? Do you know what they're going through? Do you know what they're going to have to go through? So now is the time for you to take a seat, listen, and pass it along to those that it can help. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead before I introduce and let Maurice have a mic. I am going to say we actually do have a comment that came through from Scott Attenbury, and so I do want to read his comment so that you can actually go ahead and address it. Give me just one moment so I can pull it back up. Hold on. Actually, while I'm looking to pull this up, because I don't want everybody to be holding on to my, why she got to pull it up. Maurice, go ahead and add your comments. And then when I get to Scott's comment, I will bring it up.
No worries. So again, my name is Maurice Harvey. I am a licensed clinical social worker here in North Carolina. While my main focus is on the greater Charlotte area because that's where I'm located. I'm actually licensed in North and South Carolina. And there, not for nothing, but there are clinicians who are licensed in states they don't live in. So I know people that are licensed in Texas that live in Charlotte. I know people that are licensed in Texas, um, DC, Maryland, uh, Washington State, California, but they're all located here in Charlotte. So when Sandra was saying, even though we're located here in Charlotte locally, the impact that we can have globally is very present because I know people all across the globe who are clinicians and I'm connected to a lot of different people. And so anything that you hear tonight and you're like, man, you know what? I wish that I had access to that. This is a great opportunity for you to say, you know what? Let me not just stay in my silo and not ask questions. Let me not just stay in my silo. Um, Before the end of the night, I'll make sure that I give you a way to contact me. So if you're looking for clinical support, I can absolutely connect you in that arena, no matter where you live. And so whether you're listening to this live or you hear it later on, just know that there's support for you. Um, how am I doing as far as sound?
You're good.
Okay.
Excellent.
Um, Great. So again, my name is Maurice Harvey, and I own and operate a mental health practice. The reason that I got into the mental health field in general was happenstance, actually. I'm a member of a fraternity, and we had our junior members um, mentoring program today, and I was telling them like, wow, I didn't. It wasn't until today when I was talking to them that I realized my first run in with mental health when I was about 12 years old, and it literally came out today, and it was like, wow, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, but my first run in with mental health didn't pop into my conversation and my own vantage point, my viewpoint until today as I was talking to these young guys. Um, but along my path of mental health, what I realized is our children are hurting. But our children are not only our children hurting, our children are hurting because of their experiences, but our children are also hurting because of the parental experience, right? And there's a lot of intergenerational trauma that we are experiencing as people. And so when you say things like intergenerational trauma, people are like, well, what does that even mean? Well, the things that your mom, your grandmom, your dad, your granddad, your uncles, your great uncles, what they experienced and was passed down either genetically or traditionally, right? Because when you think about tradition, there's like a cultural piece to tradition and there's a localized like home piece, right? So like when you think about the black community, it's like, okay, well, this is the black community and this is kind of what we do. But there's such a spectrum of what blackness means, right? There's such a spectrum of what maleness means. There's such a spectrum of what masculinity or femininity means. And a lot of times we localize what that means based on our experience. And so as I was having this conversation with these young people, it was like, man, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing today. Talking specifically about how our lives, not only do they matter, but they are impacted by the choices and decisions, not only of our own, but where we come from as well. I often say that I'm a product of my environment. Um, as a black male, I have locks. I wear my bottoms. I show up authentically when I do speaking engagements. I don't code switch anymore. That was a long process of me trying to figure out how do I show up and and also represent people who come from worlds that I come from. I come from a single parent home. A lot of government assistance growing up. And anytime you have government assistance, you think about those communities. I come from that kind of world. And so as I began doing the thing that I do as a social worker and realizing what's going on in these families that I'm working with, and then continuing to progress in my field, seeing that representation matters. And so me being able to show up and go, hey, I realize what you're going through is one thing. But when I go, hey, bruh, I feel you on that. My clients look at me and go, wow, here's a guy who looks and talks and sounds like the world I come from, but also has this skill set to be able to support me, right? And not for nothing, there's plenty of clinicians who look the part and walk the part, talk the part of what society says a clinician should look like. I'm in the process of supporting a generation of clinicians who don't necessarily look that way. I grew up watching Frasier. Frasier Crane is, that was what a therapist for me growing up was. But I'm not an older white guy with a balding middle spot and properly dressed with corporate attire and a leather couch. Like, no, you can come. My office is set up to feel comfortable. My office is set up to make you feel like you're not necessarily in therapy, but it's a therapeutic space. And so a lot of times people don't know that there's opportunities to connect with someone who's a regular person. I'm self-described as a regular person. I just happen to have gone to college and I have a skill set that can support you along your journey, right? I don't say um like I'm a therapist that says crazy. And people are like, well, you can't say crazy because you a therapist. Why not? People crazy. I specifically say that this world is crazy. And if you think you're not crazy, you're probably the craziest one in this entire world, right? Because the world we live in is absolutely bonkers. Think about the things that you've seen and heard in the news in the last 18 months. Just the last 45 days. And you telling me that you okay? We all need a little support. And so my platform is there's nothing wrong with getting therapy. Actually, if you go to my LinkedIn, there's a portion not seeking support absolutely makes you crazy. And so, oh, did I lose you? Did I lose everybody?
I hear you.
Oh, okay. I would say, am I crazy?
You
But
went
no,
in,
I
I'm
am crazy a
sorry. I
little
was
bit.
on
Y'all look,
mute. Yeah,
no, that's
I was
cool.
on mute. I'm sorry. Go
Um,
ahead.
No, no, no. And so that's the energy that I'm bringing tonight. Just letting you know that there are people who look like you. There are people that talk like you, who understand your mannerisms, colloquialisms, your broken speech. I love speaking broken English. I'd be like, yo, hey, bro, chill out. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's going on, partner? That's me. That's the energy that I bring into my room, in my office, which is why people continue to come and support what I'm doing because again, I'm just a regular guy saying, hey, I got a skill set that's going to support what we're doing as far as making a change for the better. Um, and I'll stop there. But again, I just want people who are paying attention to this um opportunity to realize that there are people that are willing to support you right where you are, right where you are.
And I thank you so much for what you just said because once again, it's definitely the conversation that we're having tonight, just like the conversation that we've had for the past 10 days, for the past 9 days, because this is the 10th day. These are all conversations that once again aren't just for our community, but we're speaking to our community because our community has been left out of the conversation for so often. So since they gave us the shortest month of the year, which is the 29 days, and we're the only country that celebrates, we're not the only country that celebrates Black history, but we're the only country that celebrates Black history that only has 29 days. My intent and my foundation, the Child MEDI-HELPZ Foundation intent, was to bring a different perspective on the issues that are negatively impacting the entire African American Black community, no matter where you live at in this world. Because the issues that we're talking about and the issues that we've been addressing and that we will continue to address, they're not just issues in Chicago. They're not just issues in North Carolina. They're issues in the UK, in Africa, Canada. These issues span the broad spectrum. And so it's going to be really critical for all of us, no matter where we go, no matter where we live at, on a global basis, to be involved here. I'm going to turn it back over to Shonda, but I do want to, before we go further, I do want to address some of the comments that we've had here. Jonas Richardson put in a comment on LinkedIn. He's saying, did you say Charlotte has the highest rate in North Carolina?
Yes, Charlotte, North Carolina has the highest suicide rate among teens and young adults age 10 to 24. And we've had that distinction for the last 3 years. Now, the important thing to know is that that's not because we're the biggest city in North Carolina, which we are, because those statistics are done per 100,000. So it's still looking at it apples to apples, oranges to oranges. We're just higher, and we have to do something about that. We need more engaging things for kids to do after school. We need things that reach them where they are, and I think that's the absolute reason that Maurice is so impactful. You should see these kids lose their mind when he walks in. When he said he has his shirt, it says, "Yes, I'm the therapist." They lose their mind because for sometimes it's the only time they've ever seen someone that looks like them in that kind of role. So not only is it giving you the mental resilience strategies and techniques and things that you need, but it's also about exposure and representation, and that now it becomes feasible to say, I can do it too. And that is vitally important to our kids. But yes, Charlotte has the highest suicide rate among teens and young adults in the state of North Carolina.
I'm gonna tap in real quick. Yes, I can do it too. I'm gonna tell you how powerful that is, right? Because I'm a really big advocate on representation mattering, right? And when you don't see something, how do you know you can do it? There was a point in my life where I had someone in my life who I'm very close to, um, ask me a very profound question, and and at the time it was profound, but it's even more profound the more that I grow as a person. He said to me, Maurice, how do I know to ask a question when I don't know that there's a question to ask?
Mm.
Right? And when you think about that kind of concept, it's like when you look at your kid as adults and go, now why you do that? What you know better. Or when you look at your man or you look at your best friend and go, bro, you too old for that. Girl, what you doing? Right? And we assume that there's an age and maturity that comes along side by side in a knowledge base that just clicks. So everybody should be on the same page all the time. And this word common sense irks me because there's no such thing as common sense, in my opinion. This is me as a person, my opinion. Now there's a thing as common knowledge, right? We all know that fire is hot. We all know that ice is cold, right? But to make common sense a concept, you have to say that everybody at some point received the same information across the board. And that's just not happening in black and brown communities. You cannot say that black and brown communities have the same opportunities as n- okay, let me not get on that soapbox. Hold on. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna
No,
do it.
you know what, Maurice? This is the
I'm gonna
thing.
do it.
Maurice, this is the thing. This is exactly what this conversation is meant for. We need to drill it home, right? Drill that problem home. Because if we don't drill it home and we keep dancing around it, trying to make it look pretty when it's really not pretty, Guess what we're gonna be at next year or 10 years from now? We're gonna
Same
be in
place,
the same place. So you
if
do what
not
you
worse.
do and you get it out there.
Nah, and so the wild thing for me. So I had this experience. So again, I grew up just my mother and I, but we grew up around family. And for the last, I purchased a home in 2013, and not a lot of people from my family own their home. And this past week, I had one of the guys that I grew up with is like a brother to me. It was three brothers, but he came and visited me this weekend because he's going to a basketball game. I'm in Charlotte. The Hornets played the Lakers. Almost won, but not really because LeBron at any point could have did exactly what LeBron does. 20 plus years in the league, and he's an absolute monster for not phenom. But he came into my house, and for the first time he saw my house, and he said some things to me in our visit that made me go wow. Because not again, where I come from, people don't own homes. We a lot of renters, Section 8, couch surfing, family to family. And so for me to break away from that mold of my family but still be connected to my family is like, I see him all the time, but he has never come to Charlotte to see me. And so the conversation was around, just how proud he was of me, which was for me very fulfilling. But what it also did was give him an opportunity to recognize things that he could do, and he's older than me, things that he can do in his growth pattern, because representation matters. He doesn't, he, we don't know how to go buy a house. Like, nobody showed me how to go. Nobody in my family said, "Hey, Maurice, you thinking about buying a house? Let me give you the roadmap. Let me show you how you do this thing." And so in the work that I do, a lot of times, while therapy is important in the framework of the therapeutic exercises, interventions, and homework, what's even more important is the connectivity. Your ability to be uh, personable and build rapport with your clients. I think it's Theodore Roosevelt said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, which is profound, because really, when you think about the people that's influential in your individual life, and I'm not talking about the media people, when you like, oh yeah, I'm an NBA YoungBoy fan, or Denzel Washington's my favorite actor, or I love Kerry Washington. Like, I'm talking about the people that are in your life who pour into you, who share with you, who redirect you, who you can go to and say, hey, I'm not necessarily sure about this, so let me ask you, let me present this to you to get something from you. Those people are impactful because you have a direct correlation, a direct relationship with these people. And so in my life, I understand how much representation matters. And so, Sean, I know that was a very long spiel, but I love that you said that, you know, um, that piece, because for me, being able to be a person, again, regular person, but somebody that's attainable. I can literally, I can call Maurice. My number is on my website, so you can literally reach me. Like, this is not you're not gonna get a voice recording. If you do, I'm gonna call you back, because it is what it is. Because maybe I'm, in the middle of a session. You can't answer the phone call in the middle of a session, right? Um, but I'm a real person. I'm a regular person, and I just know that people need support. And so my platform is literally being a representation, and also being a listening ear. Um, that's I mean, it's just important. So anyway, I'm a stop. But thank you.
I
Give
love
me
that.
just 1 second. We actually also had a comment from Scott Atterbury. We have two. So bear with me while I read. Scott's comment is, we need to spread this message. We should connect, as I have the same passion. We could connect with more groups to keep growing this movement. Scott,
Oh,
this what this is all about. This is all about making those connections. There's another gentleman here in Chicago. I'm not sure if Royce is on, but he has a Welcome to Fatherhood program. It's another good program that needs to actually connect. And there's another guy, Kinsey, that's on LinkedIn. He's into the children, into the young adults as well. These are all people that, and I'm not sure if they're listening tonight, because with LinkedIn Live, I got very limited visibility to seeing. but I'm sure that they'll get a chance to actually take a look at this and say, yeah, hey, you know what? Let me get him on my show or get the two of them on my show. Let us speak together. I already know that I'm gonna have Shonda back on because she don't know this yet. I'm telling her tonight. She's gonna be on our women's month is in March. I'm looking for women that want to speak to women. She definitely needs to be in that space. She needs to be talking to women in reference to how do you recognize what your children are doing? How do you recognize when they need help? How do you get them the help that they need? Then you can't just have you can have a conversation with them, but here's how you can do this where they'll understand it because you're doing it in a manner in which they listen to, right? They're incorporating that into their music, into their art. You're doing this in a way they don't even catch on till after it's done. They don't catch on to that's what mom or mom and dad in many occasions that's what they did. But you need to know all of this stuff. You need to know how you connect with, and even if you don't have kids, you know somebody that has a child. You know somebody that has a niece or a nephew or children. Period. They need help. They need love. They need attention, and they need to be able to know, which very often in our community we don't know, is that there are resources available for you. Here are your resources. Here are your options, which is a very good, which is a very real factor behind Tom's MediHealth. We want all patients, especially our patients, to be educated, empowered, and engaged. Why? Because it makes a difference in the life of you, your family, and your community. So what Shonda and Maurice are sharing tonight is excellent thoughts. And before I know that Shonda said Maurice may have to step out for a minute, Maurice will be back doing a solo at the end of the month. So please stop, not at the end, but please stay tuned for when Maurice comes back because he's going to break it down even further and even more than what he actually has to, broken it down already tonight. So Maurice, if you have to leave and you step away, I do understand. We thank you so much for coming in tonight to actually lend your voice, right? And what you just said a minute ago is very, very true. Children learn behaviors. Children have behaviors and they learn behaviors. Your child, whether you know it or not, is sitting there looking at you, picking up on what they see mom and dad do. And guess what? When you're not around, guess what they do? They doing what they see you do.
Facts.
Doing what they see you do. Because you
Facts.
because you did. So that's why they're doing it. And that's why it's important for our children to know exactly what's going on. We do have Andrew Mans, and he's actually on LinkedIn. And he's asking, thank you, Jonas, so much for coming in. We certainly appreciate you for taking the time to top in to listen. Appreciate you. Have the rest of a great day. Andrew Mans, who's on from LinkedIn, asks, what is in place in the school system to address this high rate of youth suicide? Are the local churches engaged in addressing this issue? I'm going to answer it for them, but I'm going to let them answer it on the clinical side and on the side. There is nothing being done to address this problem in the school system. Why? Because no one's coming to save us. By us, I mean everybody that looks like us. Ain't nobody come to save us. It's up to us that know how to get the job done to actually get that job done. The school system they'll put it out there that they care, but really? 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 So what are you doing? It's easier for them to say, I care, than to actually say and show that they really care. And this is, once again, this is a global issue. This isn't just a North Carolina, Chicago. This is a global issue. So to answer your question, I'm going to let Shonda and Maurice answer it as well. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There are some churches, I happen to be a member of a church that does indeed, work on addressing the issue. But for a large part, it's not. It just isn't. So, Shonda, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and Maurice and let you guys answer that question from your standpoint.
Okay, so I won't say nothing, but I will say almost nothing and not enough. So from what I have seen, and I have several other states that we are looking at moving this program to as well. But what happens, and I've seen it over and over and over again, is funding comes out and it's given to the same organizations over and over again. They do what we call awareness, which means we talk about it, but we never get to how do we solve the problem. And what we do with Flourish Foundation Project and DADAP and this National Suicide and School Safety Coalition, we have 125 different organizations. So Maurice is one of many therapy agencies and things of that nature. So it's not enough. Yes, they're doing some things because they do get funding, but it's going to the same organizations over and over again. And most of what we see happening is just simply awareness. They're playing a video in class, but we're not actually seeing implementing programs. We're not touching them where they need to touch. And what the other thing that I would like to point out is that what we do differently and what makes us different is that we're moving the conversation from analyzing the problem to a solutions focus. How do we solve it? What do we do? What is that actionable item that we can do today to make the impact? And that's what we're doing. And we're doing it, and I will tell you right now, we're doing it unfunded. This is a network of volunteers, a lot of personal investment because our kids need it and we cannot wait because we're losing an entire generation. So what we have come together to do through collaborative solutions, there's an organization called Dream Smart Behavioral Solutions. They are a Black owned behavioral science firm, the only one in the world. And they contacted me because they saw me on another live and they said, hey, we want to help. How can we help? It took about 2 years, but what they do is like when you go to corporate, you do these personality tests and it tells you who you are, how to have conversation, and it helps you make better teams. But there's nothing like that until now for youth. So we have the world's only behavioral science validated study and platform that we can come in and talk to these kids and not only talk about music is just the engaging piece to get them there, but then we have the conversation of who am I, what are my strengths, how do I use that superpower of who I am to be able to advocate for myself. We give them the language and the vocabulary to communicate their needs, their wants, and be able to help others. The other thing that we do with this program is we are building kids to be that voice for other kids. Because again, you talked about earlier, Ms. Washington, of you may not have kids, you may know some other kids. But we're empowered to empower others. So this peer support channel, right now we have 5 children already identified. They're going in, learning the strategies, and creating this peer support channel. So they're teaching back to other kids. We're teaching back through songs that honestly rival songs on the radio. I think they sound better. There's a song called Pain Talk that you can download right now. And it is a song, bass bumping. And it's a child talking about how that child was bullied and saying, when I hear myself thinking about these suicidal thoughts, I stop and I tell myself, that's just a pain talk. You're getting phobic about the way you walk. And he's telling, that's a powerful message to come through the music and through the airwaves that teaches a child a suicide prevention strategy. That is a positive affirmation statement. How do you say out loud to yourself and stop that suicide ideation in its tracks? That's and we're teaching kids to teach that back to other kids. When they come through our after school program, they come out trained in QPR. That is question, persuade, and refer. So they become ambassadors in their school or their college to be, who else can I talk to? Who else can I talk to? What can I do? And we have this mobile app version that you can actually do, which is coming out soon. Again, we are unfunded, so we are very close to being able to launch it. But the insurance and things of that nature is a bit. So you can definitely go to our website and donate and help this movement. But what we can do now, we don't look at what we can do later. We don't let not having funding stop us. What we do is say, okay, what can we do now? We have volunteers. We have people volunteering hours with the mental health requirement. We have, again, over 125 organizations that come in and say, I can help. We have service in kind partners like AmeriHealth and the Carolina Panthers and Saving Ourselves, Carolina Creative Counseling. So it's revision counseling. on and on and on, 125 of them. So if I didn't say your name, I'm sorry. I don't have all 125 I can rattle off. But what it means is that we have a nation that cares.
Yeah.
We have a nation of parents that care. And not only that, we are empowering youth that are not too far removed from that bullying situation. We have music labels that we just finished doing a partnership with that is like, you know what, this needs to come out. So we have literally created our own genre of music. I don't know what we're going to call it, so you can put in the chat the what you think we should call it, but for right now I'm calling it music that matters, because this whole genre of music is music that is literally teaching a suicide prevention strategy. But the thing is, it doesn't have to stop there. This suicide is the symptom of so many other things. 83% of children that attempt suicide come from absent father homes. And unfortunately, we as a community are overrepresented in that number.
Mm.
We have to look at those things. Things are just, this is not a one solution thing. It takes collaboration. It takes these organizations coming in and saying, this is what we can do. So we have, through our collaboration with AmeriHealth, a mobile bus that we can move anywhere in North or South Carolina and bring this program to you as long as we have 30-day notice.
Mm.
We have collaboration with 2 record labels that say, hey, this is great. So we are recruiting and have right now 7 celebrity artists that will come and do meet and greets at a college or a school. This is what we're bringing to the community. We are bringing not only awareness, but we're giving you actionable items and solutions. We train these kids on 9 suicide prevention strategies, from affirmation statements to expressing themselves in journaling, to out in the song, but then empowering. Think about where this is going. This is in Title I schools. These are socially economically disadvantaged households. When we change that child's life, we change the trajectory of that entire family, because now they're learning how to code. They're learning how to make a gamified version of this. That gamified version is being created by the children, and they're learning to code. And that is important. It's vitally important on so many levels. Some people are going to say, you know, oh, this is, you're talking about the Black community. We're talking about the Black community, but no one else is immune. This is happening. There is a I forget what you call it, but it's an Inman, so it's a Muslim mosque,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 6 suicides in 1 month. All children.
Wow.
So it's every demographic. It's not just one, because the pressures and anxiety and depression, bullying is real. And when you have things like a school system that looks at you when you're Black and brown with disdain, what do we do? When they will say, which is what happened with my son was being bullied because he had cerebral palsy, he walks with a very significant limp. And when he moved from middle school to high school, there was a gang in his school. He was beat up by 9 people, one time 22 people at once. And do you know, because he was actively participating in the fight, that he was suspended?
Trying to actively participate in. Let's say what that is. He was defending himself.
He was defending himself, a constitutional right for him to do, but he was punished. They suspended him 4 times in 1 year. That's 40 days of missed school. He went from an AB student to failing. And I have a video where the then superintendent at that time, when I'm saying, hey, he's being beat up on a bus, you see on the video, because another child filmed it, that he didn't start it, but you're suspending my child. What was he supposed to do? The then superintendent of this school district told my son to jump out of the back of a moving bus. So there is absolutely no care. No care. And if you want to call me on it, you know what? I'll release the video. Try me.
Don't do
But
that.
that's where I said, you know, I'm a mom on a mission, because the one thing is, I know how I go hard for my kids. And if I got to save the world to save mine, the world be saved.
Mm.
And that's just how it is. We have to have that passion and that zeal about our own, and then we can save other people. Just like if you're on an airplane and the oxygen mask comes down, if you don't save yourself, How can you be of use to anybody else? This is just part one, but it doesn't stop there, because when we put these solutions out there, everyone benefits. But let's take that first breath on our own.
Nah. Hey yo, and man, so okay. It's so many. It was so many nuggets in that I just want to. I want to chew on. I want to sift. I want to add to. And I'm just like, oh, Marius, where do you go from here, right? But I guess the first thing I want to say is going back to, what is the school system doing? And like China, I'm not. I don't believe the school system is doing nothing, right? But I do believe. So I have several clients that are educators, whether they are teachers or admins or support staff or whatever. So I have several clients that are in that space, and I hear all too often about how terrible the school system is. And the first thing that I want to say is, and I literally just put this on LinkedIn because there's an organization in Charlotte that's talked about the disparities in Black and brown communities, specifically being marginalized by policy and redlining and all that. If you don't know what redlining is, just go ahead and look at redlining in your community because it happened everywhere. But policies are a system issue. The thing that I love about systems is that people have the power to shift them, right? And this is the thing. No matter where you are in your life, whatever organization you work for, because again, I believe that adults who are working, right, and are contributing to the community via their work are part of a system. No, I don't know what system it is. It could be, again, it could be the state, it could be the county, it could be the nation, it could be an organization that's impacting, like whatever your work is, right? But you're a part of the system. And so when we say, oh, the system is jacked up, well, no, the system is actually performing the way it was designed to perform, right? Like that's the thing. Like, oh, well, how come this is happening? Because the system was designed that way. The thing that I love about where we are as a people, as not as a people, as people, is that we recognize that we have the power to influence our community within the system. And so if you're listening to this and you're a part of whatever broad stroke system that we're talking about, you have the power to say, you know what, I want to challenge the way the system views this thing, and I'm going to use my own voice or my own influence to kind of change that, right? So what the school systems is doing, I don't know that it's enough. um ah, Local church. Okay, so I grew up a PK. I grew up in the
Me
holiness church. I know, I'm surprised you ain't go there. um I so me and China, we've known each other for about a little over a year. I met her because what she's doing is so powerful in the city of Charlotte, and I refuse to let me not be a part of it. Like I don't care what she's doing, for real, beyond what I'm doing. And I know most people look at me like, "Oh, you a black man? That's a therapist, bro. I want to holler at you. Holler at me." But what China is doing is so important, and people may overlook how impactful it is. Specifically funders. Okay, I'm not gonna get on a soapbox because no, I am. It is what it is. She has not only does she have a program, but she has schematics. She has um statistics. She had a complete package that Charlotte's overlooking, Mecklenburg County is overlooking. She the program that she is ready to do wherever she's gonna do it. She's had offers, and trying to. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just put you out there a little bit.
go ahead.
She's had offers to go in different cities, in different states, to do this thing that she's trying to do here, and she is declined because she wants it to be a Charlotte first initiative. Now, that doesn't mean she's unwilling to go do something in other spaces and places and support and help people learn, because she's a giver like me, which is why my heart is to continue to support her in what she's doing. So I say all that to say, if you have a a funding opportunity, if you have a program idea, if you have social capital, this message that you're listening to is a great opportunity to say, hey, you should probably pay attention to this real quick. Because if you want to make a change in your community, the things that we are doing, like actually doing, and we're not talking about awareness, and trying to thank you for bringing that to the forefront, because a lot of programs are bringing awareness. We're bringing bodies. It's a lot different when you bring up. It's one thing to bring a message. It's another thing to bring bodies, right? A message can be spread by anybody, and no disrespect to any spiritual or religious or civil whatever personnel, but that's a message. That message is important, but messages need bodies. You need people who are willing to move. There's not a let's not an organization. I wanted to figure out how I want to say that. There's not an organization that has a message that gets out that don't have bodies carrying that message out. Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, gangs, right? These are organizations. Without bodies, these organizations and what they stand for mean nothing. And so before you can talk about change, you need bodies. So we need people to be active and aware. And we need people who are willing to make change. All right, yeah, that's it.
You got that right. And this is the important thing is this, and I do know it's actually 8 o'clock on Eastern time, 7 o'clock here. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but I don't want to wrap up before I actually continue to introduce the comments. So if you're listening, by all means, and you have to leave, please do so. We appreciate you being here. But if you have the time to listen even further, please do stay to listen, because we need to hear this message, and we need to know that there are people out there that are not just talking about, I say talk is cheap all the time. And people say, Sandra, you too rough. I'm like, no, talk is cheap. We've been talking all this time. Look where it's gotten us. We ain't even moved from A to B yet. We still stuck at A. I'm
Eight and a
like,
half.
we
Eight and
got
a
so we got to start doing something. We can't, you know what? We can't. And you both bring up a really good point. Before I actually read Scott's rest of his comment, is this: you gotta go, you gotta get up and go and vote. As we were talking yesterday, when Bianca Dickerson Williams was on, and she was talking about the maternal health rate in African American communities, we gotta vote. We got these bills, these legislative laws. We want them passed. There's no funding. We have no funding for you, so you can't do all of this stuff that needs to get done. People, stop voting along the lines of, well, you want this one, that one. If this one and that one ain't following what you following, why are you supporting them? Why are you voting for them? Why are you giving them your money, your electoral vote, whatever? Why are you supporting them? Why are you only voting for the president of the United States?
talk that
Why are you
talk.
not voting for your local school board? Why are you not voting for your district here in Chicago?
Come
We
on
have
now.
aldermanic races, mayor races,
Yeah,
governor races. What
yeah,
legislative, the
yeah.
senator? Why are you just sitting there and say, oh, well, whoever win. When you want a point, you want a project to get done, but you voting because whoever win. Stop. We as a community, we have to stop. I'm gonna go ahead and read Scott's rest of his thing, because it's very, very interesting. And Shanta and Maurice, if you have time, if you can actually add on and add your comments onto what Scott's saying. He's saying you can hear Lil Wayne talk about his story. Single parent home, 14-year-old, shot himself because his mom was working 2 jobs, and his auntie and mom didn't believe him when he said he was not feeling mentally well. After that day, his mom changed completely.
Yeah. No, that's
These are
real.
real
And
stories.
so
These are
and
real stories.
Who you said that's Scott?
Yeah, Scott Arterberry.
Ayo, Scott. Listen, man. So I'm a, I'm not a, I'm not a Wayne fan. Let me not say that. I'm a guy who's listened to Wayne all my life, right? And so I've heard him talk about Sita, right? I've heard him talk about Birdman. I've heard him talk about the police walking past him in the residential location that he was in. You know what I'm saying? And he's sitting there bleeding out. And if it wasn't for certain officer who saved his life, you know what I'm saying, after he shot himself, like I've heard Wayne talk about all these different things, and Wayne is a cultural icon, right? Like if you listen to hip hop music, you know who Mr. Carter is. You know what I'm saying? Between Sean Carter and Dwayne Carter, come on, man. It is what it is, right? But when and not but as Wayne talks, and then you recognize the things that he went through, and then he put it on music. He put it in music, right? And that's why I love what Chanda's doing, because you might look at him now in his 30s and think about who he is as an adult, but he put it all back then on wax, right? He put it all back then on in the studio, right? And he would tell his story. And I'm not talking about side A's. I'm not talking about what they was playing in the club. I'm not talking about, I mean, sure, he might have put a line or two in the pop culture, kind of consumerism. But if you ever digest Wayne's music, then you get to see a side of him that is not all guts and glory. You get to see a side of him that's pain. You get to see a side of him that's hurt. You get to see a side of him that's, my daddy wasn't really there. You get to see a side of him that's, thank God for Birdman. And I know it's a lot of controversy around him and Birdman and Rick Ross and all, whatever. But at the end of the day, it was the music that drew him out of where he was at to get to where he was going, right? And in music, there's so much healing, and that's why I love what China's doing, because that music and mental resilience piece, like, I don't care what type of music you enjoy or what type of music you appreciate. There's a piece in that that gives you peace, and ultimately, aren't we all looking for peace?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, China. Go ahead.
No, I love that. I love that. So, yes, and that's what we're wanting to do. We want to not only empower the children to express themselves in the music because that's therapeutic, then we want them to see themselves with other people, other artists like Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, shout out to you. Hit me up. Let's get you involved in this, and anybody else as well. We have some artists too. I shout out to the what does he call himself? He calls himself something like the greatest. Dave Tolliver. He's on our board of directors. He's the lead singer for our R&B legend group, Men at Large. But we have something here that we can actually teach kids. We can reach them in a way that we can't reach them any other way. There's a TikTok video going viral right now of some kids singing Keisha Cole's song, and they are singing with passion. Um, because music, it just pierces your soul. And it doesn't matter what genre it is. We have country artists. There's a country artist, Chris Greer, that is also, he's like, he contacted me on social media. It's like, you know what? I want to work with you. I want to do da da da. So when we go into this app, there are 5 different radio stations. There's country, there's R&B, there's rap. We're going to meet these kids wherever they are, and give them the tools to be mentally resilient. But not only that, music is just how we connect with them. Think about if we can put them on career paths to do editing, video making, um, editing videos, being a music producer, or how do you do digital animations? And now they're cartoonists, um, coding. Now they're making games and videos and all those kind of things. Or maybe they're becoming peer support specialists. There's so many different paths. We're putting them on a future focus. The CDC in March of last year said if we can get kids on a future focus, we can reduce suicide ideation by up to 50%. We're just putting it all together. So when you go into
That
this
number again, Chandra. How much?
50%, just by getting them to focus and hyper focus on a future focus, letting them know Here's what you can do. Here's the possibilities that you can do. But for what we talked about earlier when Maurice was talking, he said sometimes it's generational. There are gaps. Sometimes your parents and even your parents' parents haven't had that information. So sometimes the child is teaching the parent how to buy that home, how to master their credit. So these are life skills, leadership skills, self advocacy skills. It is not only the therapy, because we do have an NPI number. You can go into the app and get the telehealth portal and actually get therapy, but it also gives you a single sign on access so that you have the wraparound services that are built into it. And then there's a learning management system that gives you the courses, the introductory courses of how to code. How do you get started with that? So what we end up doing is not only we're reaching them through the music, but we're keeping them out of jail. We're reducing gun violence. We're talking about parenting skills. There's a whole video library that talks about, okay, so you're a 16, 17-year-old parent. Now what do you do? How do we do that? So we can heal and so we can heal. I mean, that's just it. We have to heal. We have to start somewhere. Music is where we start, but it's not where we finish.
You got that right. We're a long way from finishing, but we're well on the path of finishing. And thanks to social media and us being able to collaborate across the lines, it's becoming a reality. It's becoming a reality. We are on our way up. I said last year, I was telling some people that I was talking to last year, I'm like, this year, this coming year, will be the year of the patient, the year that patients get help, they get love, they get guidance, they show which direction to go in. No more than sitting on the sidelines. We can't sit on the sidelines. We can't, and we have to tell the hard truths. Once again, I'll go back to last night. I was listening. We had Bianca Dickinson Williams on. She was talking about maternal health. I had calls from coming in afterwards, and I'm sure I'm going to have the same calls and them same reactions coming in tonight. But people actually saying, Sandra, you know what? They told the truth. Like they hit us where we needed to be hit. Yeah, we got to stop messing around. We got to stop walking on roses around people because it ain't going to happen if we keep doing it like that. We have another comment from Red Gabriel. He's saying this is such a critically important discussion and solution. The absolute necessity of having therapists that have innate insights and connectedness to the needs of the traditionally underserved communities. So, Shanta and Maurice, would you like to address what Gabriel just said? And then I think what Rag just said, and then I think we have two more comments after that, and then I'll be closing the night out.
Okay. So so traditionally underserved, sometimes we have the assumptions and stereotypes of what that looks like. Traditionally underserved could be a female head household. It could be a household with a disabled child in it. But what we have to be able to do is to be very purposeful. One of the things that I always say is that you have to figure out, and what I learned through this whole thing with my family is sometimes your pain that you go through isn't for you. It's for what you can bring out of it. And we have to learn to own our own healing. It's not about what I can do or give you, but it's also about what you can do and give yourself. And then also understanding, and that's why we start with that behavioral superpower for the kids. We're empowering kids to own their own education, own their own mental health. So that if I'm not getting what I need, let's give them the verbiage, the vernacular of how to ask for that. We just happen to meet them where they are in a very engaging way. But the information is something that we can do and replicate everywhere. And that's the important piece. So yes, underserved, but we need to empower the underserved because I don't want that to be a crutch or an excuse. Like you said earlier, no one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And us is us as people, us as citizens, because this suicide crisis is affecting everyone, every demographic. It's affecting white kids in the suburbs, Black kids in the urban community. It's Hispanics. It's every demographic is impacted. So it's the one social impact issue, which is why we started with this issue. It's the one issue that everybody can get behind. But now that we have a blueprint of how to do that, how we can do this through collaboration, this is what we have done unfunded. Imagine if we had some funding, what we could do. You have organizations, and again, a mom on a mission, but I have been before executives, corporations. I've sat with the vice president of one of the largest healthcare companies in the nation. We have 3 universities ready to do a 3-prong case study so we can track this and show efficacy. Because once we do that and we have validated data, then we can replicate this. This needs to be given not school district to school district, which is where we have to go now because we're unfunded. This needs to go to the top. This should be on the website of every middle school in the nation, every high school in the nation, and then we should come out with another version that's more appropriate for younger kids. That's what needs to happen, because we are losing a generation of children. And not to go too long, but let me give you one more piece of statistics. If you think that this only affects Black people, if you think this doesn't affect anyone else, September of last year, the Department of Defense at a DARPA convention issued a statement that said suicide, especially among young people ages 14 to 24, which is the age group that people start looking at what their career path is going to be. But suicide among that generation, that age group, is so critical that it is a leading mitigating factor of why we have understaffed military, which made suicide among teens and young adults a matter of national security. So I went to a DARPA convention, which was full of universities talking about STEM education, why we need different types of education. We have people that are not able to do these highly technical skills. But I had put my patent in for the app and for the game, and they contacted me. I didn't even know that they could do that, but okay. And I hung up on them for the first 2 times. But long story short, I was in the midst of every branch of the U.S. military, every HBCU in the nation getting this speech from the Department of Defense about what is needed and why this is so critically important. And I'm there because, unbeknownst to me, we created a solution. So my question is, if that's the case, where's the next step? Where's the funding to make it happen? So we need to be able to do those things. And I know it's a process, et cetera, et cetera. It takes about 9 to 12 months to go through that whole DARPA process. But we can't do that and wait. We're losing over 1,000 kids a day. We can't do that. We can't wait. And when it's disproportionately affecting your community, we really can't wait. So we have to do something different. We have to get these solutions out there. And do I think this is the only solution? No. Why? Someone asked me before, why am I open to collaboration? You should kind of hoard it, and this could make you rich and da 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 da. It doesn't matter. It's not a competition, because if every single licensed therapist and every single after school program in America did everything that they could for every child, we would still not have enough, because it's that pervasive. So we have to do more, and we have to work together. We have to stop working in silos. There are several companies out there that are doing amazing things, and we don't know about it. But if we can put it in an app and you can go and find what's in your area based on your zip code, how much more do we make those solutions accessible? So it is not a competition. There's more than enough. There's more than enough to go around. And we have to understand that only through collaboration, only through pooling resources will we make the impact. And if we don't do it soon, our nation is in danger. Our national security is in danger. And we literally are losing children. We're losing an entire generation. And we can't let that happen.
Marisa, I think you're on mute. I think you went to mute because we can't hear you.
I don't see him.
Oh, I'm backstage. You're in the show. Okay, can you hear me now?
Mhm.
Okay, my bad. It said something about I was backstage. I don't know. This is a cool platform though. Thank you for having this platform and allowing me to be here. And not for nothing, but what city are you in?
Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago. Okay, okay. Shouts out to Chi-Town, man. It's a lot of different names for Chicago. So I love that you're doing this. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of what you're doing. Like this is major.
No,
Um,
you know what? And before you go further, what I do want to say is I would be really interested just in seeing what it takes to get it into the grade schools, because in Chicago, it's not too often that we can turn on the TV and hear about these kids, 11, 12 years old, that's out here robbing, stealing, getting shot. Their whole life losing their lives behind the fact that they feel like they have nowhere else to go but out in the street. So, I understand that you're focusing in right now on the middle school and the high school, but if there was any way to add maybe like from the fifth or sixth grade on to it, that would be wonderful, especially here in Chicago where the statistics are getting worse as the kids in that age range.
Yeah, we actually have an MOU partner in Chicago, 1921 working. So we've been exploring that conversation of how we get it done. But again, um, what drives us and allows us to be able to move into different areas is when we have the support in those areas. We can come out and show people how to work this program. We can show you how to use the app. We can get it started. But we need funding to be able to do that, to get those things to you, and we need the people, the boots on the ground to be able to do that. So what we did here in Charlotte, I again, it started with a live broadcast just like this one. Hey, this is what we're facing. Who wants to help? Let's do something different. If we get that support and that community, then that's how we know where we go next. So, where we have support right now, Atlanta is booming. Chicago is having the conversation. What do we do? And also, companies like 1921 are putting their money where their mouth is and saying, hey, what does it look like? We can support by this. Um, we have had conversations with San Diego, San Francisco Bay Area. So there are definitely places that want us to be able to come, but we've got to be able to get this to where it's a national initiative and that it doesn't have to be a conversation of missed resources, especially when there's so much funding out there. It's just, where is it going? And it's going to the people that are talking awareness, and awareness is good, but awareness without action isn't, is that a biblical
It's
thing?
a mute point, is what it is.
Exactly. Faith without works is dead. So if we don't have, we have to have the faith that this is going to work. We have to have the faith that we can make a difference. First of all, we have to
that's
be
right.
empowered to
Because
not
faith
think
without
that.
works is dead. That's what the Bible tells us.
Right. So we have to put action to it now. And that's what we're calling for. We're saying, let's get this done. And what we do is create programs. So there's several programs that we have. We have the mentoring program. We have the music and mental resilience. We have the app. We have the gamified solution. We have the ambassador program where we can go in and train kids on suicide prevention and CPR. So that when we're not leaving them vulnerable. Think about these school shootings that happen. 75% of the people that die in a mass shooting die not because of being shot or that the shot was deadly. It's because they bleed out, no one gets them CPR because they can't go into that situation. However, less than 1% of children are trained in CPR training. Less than 2% of children or students are trained in active shooter training. Um, to me, as a parent, you left my child as a sitting duck, and I'm not okay with that. And I can wait for the school board to do it, but the school board is an extension of us. Those are parents, and you can't think that the teacher's going to do everything that you ought to do at home. That's the real. You don't learn home training in school. That's from your mama and your daddy in that classroom, in that homeroom. And I don't mean homeroom in school, I mean home at your house. So if we're not teaching respect, if we're not teaching to respect authority, then we're setting our kids up for failure. And which is how we have this overwhelming school to prison pipeline. Is why we can take this app and just flip it and make it into pathways where it's a reentry program. So
Kinda, hold on. I know you want to talk about what that last piece, but school to prison pipeline. Can you educate anybody who may not know what that means?
yes, so basically we have a situation where kids are in school and we teach them very little. They're learning to just, they're not learning critical thinking skills to think on themselves, to make positive decision making. So you end up in school, you end up getting suspended, you end up getting put into these alternative schools for different behaviors and things of that nature. We're not addressing what these root causes are or giving them any real solutions. And then you end up in prison. So it's the situation where behavior problems in school manifest themselves and turn into a process, a pathway to prison.
Specifically, the school to prison pipeline, and I literally just posted this on LinkedIn, but it's something that I've learned about and processed and understood probably about 15 years ago. The school to prison pipeline is by third grade test scores. They are building prisons for our students. If you are not meeting a mark by the time you are in third grade, they are preparing a place because there are statistics that say, well, if you're not performing in third grade, by the time you're 16, 17, 20, right? I skipped 18 and 19, but there are uh, there's a place that they are building that you will be useful in that space by third grade, like literally. But anyway, keep going, sis.
Absolutely. And that's again, this we could talk from this for hours and days, but there one of the gentlemen on my board, Dr. Gregory Spencer, he is a doctor and a national expert on childhood trauma and its impact on education. And his app is called Footsteps to Brilliance. And it is designed to address just that because of that same actual reason, where if you're not at reading level by the time you're in third grade, the statistics are you're more likely to go into crime. You're more likely to have depression and anxiety. You're more likely to be suicidal. You're more likely to engage in other type of behaviors. You're more likely to experience substance abuse. So there's so much that goes into this that are ripple effects that we need to start early, um, and get them performing by third grade, which is what that is for. And I know that California, the state of California, has that app universally for all schools in California so that you can get kids to reading level by third grade. And if you look at what we have on this side over here on the East Coast, we don't have that because we have, again, siloed solutions. We just have to work better together collaboratively to make solutions. And again, if we stop thinking that, it's me and I'm hoarding things, that we all win here and our children win and my child gets to live. I spent 20 minutes behind an ambulance to see if my child was going to be able to be revived. So again, what I'm talking about is where you're turning your pain into purpose. You're finding your voice, and we're talking to kids about that same thing and helping them become the next voice. It's about empowerment. It's about engagement. It's so much more than the music, but the music is definitely statistically where we start. This Gen Z generation, which is 13 to 26 right now, that age group, again, is spending 3 to 5 hours a day in music. So if you sleep about 6 or 7 hours on top of that, and then you spend another 6 hours in school, you really don't have any time left. The only time to reach these kids is going to be when they're consuming that music. And if you look at the other alternatives where you have these things going on where you're streaming videos and they have all these challenges that are killing them, doing just crazy stuff, we have to give them better decisions. Everything that we have is research based, even down to the videos. The videos are engaging and they're fun, but it's using metacognitive thought therapy. We're modeling, how do I make better decisions? Because that's the skill set that's missing. And we're coming off of COVID, where we're seeing for the first time African American children leading that number in suicide growth, in the higher numbers of suicide. Um, we have this disconnect. Kids have been isolated for the last 3 to 4 years because of COVID, and they don't have the socialization skills because they didn't have the ability to interact. They learned that in school. Well, we have closed down school for 3 years, and now that they're out, we have a generation of kids entering the workforce with no socialization skills because they missed that last 3 years. So not only do we have to look at educating them on that, we have to go back and retrofit that gap so that they can work in teams. Look at, there's a reason that every single business is understaffed. There's a reason. People can't work together. They haven't learned to do that. And not only that, but that generation is also saying, you know what, I'm not going to go and work for 20 years for the same company to be treated badly. So organizations have to look at how they treat their employees. It's so complex that we will never solve this alone. We have to work together and take it piece by piece. And this is one piece. Hopefully that this is the catalyst that will start those conversations so that we're not spending, yes, we talk about awareness. Yes, we understand the problem. But at some point, we have to say, okay, what are we going to do about it? And that's where we are today. And that's what we're saying. What are we going to do about it? So as we talk this out and as we get ready to close, go to our website. It's www.ddaat-aap.com, DAT app. And go to, you'll see the services. You'll see the different portfolio. Literally, it's a portfolio of solutions that are scalable. This is a plug and play solution. If we get the right group of people, the right organizations where we have a mental health therapist, maybe if you run a music studio, we can put you together with the other types of entities that need to do this and show you how to run this in your area so that you can impact schools too. Those are the things that we need to do. If you have funding sources, go in and donate. If you are a grant writer, come on board. We need volunteers for that. But what can you do? Not changing anything that you do, not going out of your way, but what can you do today that will make an impact? Because if 800 of us do that, what can we do? If 100 of us do that, what can we do? It's not about the massive movement. It's about that $1 donation. Because that $1 donation magnified by 1,000,000 saves 1,000,000 lives. That's what it is. It's that one little thing. What is that one thing? Can you as a therapist donate an hour of therapy? Can you donate $1? Can you donate a music recording studio kit? They're $2.99 on Amazon for a Personas kit, so a kid can take that home and be able to express themselves. Can you sponsor a kid so that they can go to this after school program for a month? That's what we're saying. Can you skip one Starbucks coffee a week and put it with somebody else's stuff? And let's get this going in your neighborhood. Can you have a meeting in your group, in your circle, and say, hey, this is what we need. Let's bring it here. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are so right in there. And so finally, I do want to say Jonathan Kimbrough says he loves this conversation. And I'm going to close this out with a saying from Danielle. Danielle, if I say your name incorrectly, please forgive me. Blame it on the head, not the heart. She's saying, Shonda writes, you are so right. It's not enough. It's definitely time to change the conversation and to see the solutions in play. You are a breath of fresh air. which that, my dear, you are. You're definitely a breath of fresh air. So why don't we do what Danielle said? Let's move this into play. Let's stop talking and start to get. Shanta just said, if each of us gave $1 or each of us did some kind of in-kind donation, said, hey, how can we help you? If each of us took this video and said, Sandra, can you send me the link so that I can share this out to my people, the people on my end, because they really need to hear this and they need to get this information. Can you send me the link so that I can send you the link? How many more people will that touch? How many more children and the young adults, how many will it affect? How many will it positively impact? Not just in the African American community, but in all communities. But I'm paying closer attention, especially this month, to my people, my community, my young sisters and brothers that are growing up, that are one day going to lead this country forward. I'm talking about them and I'm talking to them. Let's get it together and let's stop this talking and stop this playing and let's put our money where our mouths are and let's make it happen. We can. And so, with that being said, I'm going to ask first Shonda to put on her lovely, pretty smile. And she, once again, please be on the lookout. She will be in March by herself, no matter what I got to do and what kind of arm twisting I got to do to get her here.
You got it. You got it.
She will be on the Charms platform in March for Women's Month. She will be there. Maurice, on the other hand, he will be doing a live. Well, he'll be doing a live. I don't know whether he wants audio or live, but he will be on the platform again before this month ends. I have him coming on February 25th. He will be doing a one-man show. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be on time. Please be knowing that he just gave you a little bit, right? On March 25th, I'm going to let him loose.
Ooh, you gonna let me loose?
I'm going to let him and his mouth loose. So you need to be ready and you need to be prepared because there's some stuff that I could tell that he held back on because he really didn't want to let it out. But that day will be his show. And he'll be allowed, as long as there ain't no whole bunch of cussing and stuff like that.
No.
He'll be allowed to say what he needs to say to make sure that you get his point. As far as, and before I go, I do want to actually let you know that tomorrow is day 11th of the Charms Black Health History event. Tomorrow we will actually be talking about, we have someone in Florida. She's in Sanford, Florida, or Fayetteville. She'll kill me if I get this wrong. But she has a community garden. And a garden is a place where you go to actually make sure get your mental capacity together. She's in North Carolina, but make sure you are able to know, hey, when can we come and visit? What can we do? She has a community garden, which is actually there all for the health, not all for, but for the health of your mental capacity to being able to go somewhere in nature and just think it out. So she will be on tomorrow. Because of the Super Bowl, we do have a time frame change. It will be from 2:00 Central to 3:00 Eastern time to allow our gentlemen and our ladies, whoever wants to watch the Super Bowl, to be able to watch the Super Bowl without missing the importance of the Black Health History Month. And with that being said, Shonda, pretty smile, please close us out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. It was a wonderful, enlightening conversation, and I will be happy to come back. Again, we are Flourish Foundation Project. We have a DBA of data, the National Suicide Prevention and School Safety Coalition. This is citizens taking care of citizens. Let's do it.
On my end, thank you again for hosting this platform. And I am coming back. I'm excited. I got a lot I want to talk about, but at the same time, I'm always open for questions. Like, my thing is, I could talk to you about anything, but I want to talk to you about something that matters to you, right? We mentioned some key terms tonight that was like, man, if I take a moment, scribble them down, think about them, talk about them, research them, and that kind of deal, absolutely, right? I'm more of a Q&A guy. Where are you? Where you at in your walk, and what is it that you're trying to get out of what you're doing? So anytime you talk to me, you're going to hear me ask you questions. I want to know where you are, what's going on. Beyond that, if you're looking for me specifically, choose better for you. Choose better, the number 4, the letter U. Choose better for you is how you can reach me across platforms: Facebook, Instagram. I don't got a Twitter. My website is choosebetterforyou.com, like literally. So I'm excited though, because this is a necessary conversation, and I love that the platform is specifically addressing the issues in Black and brown communities, because it's important. It's important. Representation matters, for real, for real.
Absolutely.
And so, with that being said, I'm going to wish everyone have the rest of a beautiful evening. It's Friday, well, Saturday evening here in Chicago. So I'm wishing everyone, the rest of a beautiful evening. If you're looking at this as a later time, whatever time you're looking at this, please have the rest of an enjoyable day. Once again, I'm looking for you guys to reach out to me and say, "Hey, Sandra, can I have that link? Because I want to share it, because it's a funding issue. It's an issue that's impacting our children. So please reach out if you're trying to reach Shonda or you're trying to reach Maurice, and you're like, I can't remember what they told me. I didn't write it down, or you wrote it down. You don't know where you wrote it at. Contact me. Send me a DM. Get on LinkedIn. Say, hey, Sandra, I'm interested in. How do I get them? If you have a platform of your own, whether it's a podcast, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever, reach out and touch a life. Even if you don't know that life, know that you're making a difference. Touch a life by saying, hey, Shonda, hey, Maurice, whether you want them together, whether you want them apart, say, can we get you to come? Can we get you to talk? We need to hear you. We want to help you. Help them so that we can help each other. With that being said, I wish everyone a good day or a good evening. And thank you, Shonda and Maurice. I appreciate you. Our foundation appreciates you.
No, thank
Thank
you. I
you.
appreciate you. I applaud you. I'm excited about what you're doing, and I can't wait to continue to connect with you, because this is what it's all about.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Love it. Thank you.